Hi, my name is Sally Bernard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995 Studio A. And now onto the show.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to my show. Once again, I do love to say thank you to my followers. I really do appreciate it. I see on Facebook how many likes I get. Thank you, guys, and continue watching my show. We actually have a really interesting show today. It's on out-of-body experiences. So anybody that's watching this that may have experienced one or know someone that had one, please call into the show. Although I know we do have some questions here, but we have time for your answers too. The number is 888-994-4995, Studio A. So I look forward to hearing your questions. Now on with the show. Actually, what I'm going to do for people that don't, because I'm not used to, I usually read from my book, but I'm going to actually explain something. I do talk about it in my book. I had out-of-body experience, plus I've had quite a lot. It's actually astral projection too. To me, it's kind of one of the same thing. And just to give you a little bit of my background, which I don't often do, but you can also read it in my book, that I went to bed one night, I knew nothing. I probably knew a lot less than a lot of people listening to my show today. And I fell asleep, and suddenly I had this sensation like I was going somewhere, and it felt like there was, actually the sound was like you get from I'm going to say a truck or something, and I could hear and feel this vibrational energy. Am I okay with the sound?
You're perfect.
Yeah, okay, I'm talking about sound. Okay, and I'm wondering, as I'm falling asleep, what in the world is that? And the next thing I know, I feel this tremendous vibrational energy. And I'm going, what? In my mind, I'm asleep, but I'm awake at the same time. I was like in that in-between state. And I'm saying to myself, what is happening to me? Where am I going? I explain it more detail in my book. And suddenly, the next thing I know, I'm not in my room. I'm somewhere else, and I'm having this sensation. In my book, I call it flying, because that's actually what I was doing, but I couldn't understand it. But I'm three-quarters asleep. I guess it's like a hypnotic state that I was in at that point, because I did recall everything afterwards. And I'm flying all the way around the place, and I have no idea. I did not know anything about what was happening to me. I just knew that I was getting a very strange sensation. Well, as I came back, I remember I must have been gone maybe about 10 minutes. However, it did feel a lot longer, and I come back and I feel like a tremendous jerk, and I'm going, what in the world happened to me? Now, the reason I'm trying to actually explain it the best that I can of what happened to me, and of course it is in more detail in my book, is if any of you viewers have had anything like what I have just said, please call in, because we really, really do want to hear what happened, and I'm here to help. Because after that, I began to have people ask me what was happening, and what was happening to me is I was going maybe 3 times a week for a long, long time. That's when I met my guide, who told me exactly what was happening to me. But without that, honestly, I don't know what I would have done, but I was able to find out. I've studied and read a lot about it. So if you have any questions, please ask me. And I believe that you have some from viewers too.
I do,
Freddie.
but before we get there, I wanted to talk about the OBE now. Was Steve with you at the time? Were you with her when she had these?
No. This is going back about 18 years ago.
This is further
yes,
back.
I met Aldo directly when I had one of the messages, and I'm glad you brought that up, is they actually told me in that particular one, I think, or the one just after that, is to go and get some crayons and start to draw, which I have mentioned on my show many times. And I had never drawn anything, but the next thing I know, I'm scribbling, and it's looking like a kind of art. It was abstract, and I have never stopped since. So, but many late, what happened, I actually changed from who I was to, I'm going to say, a completely different side of me. I don't believe, if people know what walk-ins are, I don't believe I had a walk-in. It was me, because I do remember the before and after me. And many of my friends who knew me when I was working, they just said to me, you're so very different. I changed completely overnight. I wasn't aware how much I was changing, and I still am. But shortly after that, Aldo came into my life and explained to me what was going on.
So is there a correlation between having these OBEs and who you end up being?
Yes, because I truly, with my way of thinking, anybody that's experienced an out-of-body astral projection, there are 3 types. I actually heard the other day, I was listening to a program on Gaia, there are 3 types of out-of-bodies actually. And once you've experienced it, and I can only tell you that you are different. And I was listening to a show on Gaia, and this lady, and I got Steve to watch the show afterwards with me, so that you could understand a little of what had happened to me. She had had out-of-body experiences, and funnily enough, she was from England, and how she explained it, and I'd never heard anyone really explain exactly kind of what I just said before. She did it so eloquently and so well, but she said she was not the same person. I wasn't the same person before and after that. And many, many people that have had that will tell you the same thing.
So it changed you?
Completely,
So
Freddie.
then the object of the game here is, or the question, I mean, we have a bunch of questions in here of incidents that occurred in people's OBE, and they want an explanation as to what it means. But in this case, something happens to you and something similar happens to me. There are 2 different meanings, yes?
There's 3 types of OBEs, out of bodies. There's the one that's instantaneous. In other words, I never tried to bring this on. I knew nothing about it, and yet it was happening to me. So I had no, what I would say, formal training on how to do this. The second one is when people, and there are books out that you can, and many people try and they don't actually get there, but many people do actually end up having out-of-body or OBEs. And there's a way and a technique. I never use that technique, but I'm not going to say don't, because it has worked for many people. And the third out-of-body is not the nicest of them, is if you should have an accident and instantly you can, and I'm sure people have heard of this, and doctors certainly, they leave their body when that happens, but they don't necessarily pass. But the ones that don't pass have lived to tell the story. And they explain a very, very similar thing to what happened to me. So those are the 3 types, which I wasn't aware of the 3 types till I listened to this lady the other day, because no one other than my guide at that time had explained it to me.
So I know you've had many OBEs, or astral projections. Would you single out one that was perhaps your most exciting one ever?
Well, it might not have been the most exciting, but it was the one that was very relevant to me, because they actually told me to go and paint. And I had never painted anything. And when I started to, I couldn't recognize what I was doing. But I was drawing from out of body when I was there of things that I was obviously seeing that were not from this lifetime. They were from lifetimes prior to this lifetime. And the validation for me is I looked it up, which I hadn't have done. I had no reason to look up any of these things. I saw my artwork on the internet. It went on, and in the beginning it was what I call the sketching, just with a pen and paper. But I was very, very accurate, and I believe because I had this in my mind, somewhere I am seeing this.
Other than the one that I walked in the middle of, did you ever have a real scary one?
No, I've actually had, yes, I've had 2. The one that when, I think we had mentioned it on the show, or even just prior to that, is when I had a paralysis and I was calling out for help. So obviously I don't remember the whole part of that, but it was scary. And you came into the room, Steve, and tried to wake me up out of it. I couldn't, and eventually I just couldn't talk. So that had to have been a scary one. And one other one that I had, which I don't believe I mentioned in my book, because I'm really not too scared of anything, because I've had a lot happen to me, but this was something to do with, I guess, and the viewers by now know that I have been abducted, that it was something to do with an abduction. I was going towards some sort of craft, and I froze. I didn't want to go, and I didn't go, and I listened to me at that point. And after that, funnily enough, I stopped my OBEs for quite a long time, and that was like 2 or 3 years into having them. I suddenly wasn't getting them anymore.
So a person can be in control of their OBE?
100% you can, because I felt when I came back, I felt myself hitting, like I hit the wall. And I asked Aldo, my friend, Adamir, is this what happens? And he said, it's like a jerk you get because you're coming into your body. And I said, I don't like that. It's not like I was scared, but I didn't like the feeling and the sensation of that. So he just said to me, tell yourself you don't want it anymore. And all the ones after that I had after that particular experience, I never received a jerk like that ever again.
But you were afraid that you were going to be hurt.
Oh, yeah, well, I did. I mean, you think of all these things. I'm saying to Aldo, if I'm flying, which I know I am, what is I turn my fan off. I wouldn't keep my fan on at night. Of course, that's ridiculous too, because you go through walls, you go through windows. But my mind, my brain was saying, well, something happened, but be careful of the fan. Well, that's ridiculous because I went way out there. Thank you.
Is there a difference between a nightmare and an OBE?
Well, yes, there is, but then again, you could have an OBE and be scared, which we would then see as a nightmare. I believe fear stops a lot of these things. I have had fear twice, and but if you're scared and you want to do this, what will stop it is fear. Now, I don't believe whoever or whatever I encounter, I am not going to be scared because this is just because I've had this so long in my life. If I think that I am, and this is another subject, you see what you want to see, basically. So if I have fear, I'm very fearful. If I manage to go, I may, I'm not saying definitely, see something that's going to scare me. Now, if I want to see nice things and I want to go to another planet, which happened, I didn't know I could do that. I saw very nice things. Everybody was really nice to me.
What's the difference between OBE, which is out-of-body experience, and time travel?
Well, you can time travel in and out of body because you're limitless, basically, to say that. So you can actually say where you want to go. I have a friend who actually met me on Facebook. I have never met her. She lives in Australia, and she had read an article or something about what had happened to me with my out-of-body experiences. And she communicated with me from Australia, I believe it is. And she said, perhaps we could meet up because the same thing was happening to her. I haven't yet done that, but it is certainly very possible. You can have an out-of-body or astral projection, maybe more people are familiar with that, with somebody else.
So
yes.
You're going to astral project with her someplace from
Yes,
Australia?
she said yes, and it is
Let's meet
possible.
up. You don't have to go anywhere?
No, you don't. Well, you are going somewhere, but you still, you're out.
Can you imagine?
It does happen. You can go with a friend. I mean, okay, a very good example of that. When I first had my very first one, I thought it was a dream that had gone crazy, that I was flying. However, when I met Aldo the following day, his words were to me, I know where you were last night. I didn't know where I was, and I thought he was nuts. However, and this is really important, he proceeded to tell me every single detail of what I had seen the night before. Everything. That happened. I know that happened to me because I couldn't believe what he was telling me. I'm going, how in the world did you know where I was last night? And his answer, which was many, many times, little by little, I'll explain it to you. So here I am 20 years later. He passed away 3 years ago, but I believe he's still with me.
So just as Aldo would interpret your paintings, did Aldo on a regular basis interpret your OBEs?
Well, yes, he did, because I had put a lot in my book too. And when he read my book, just like he interpreted some of my artwork in my book, he would go into detail. He never told me things. He wanted me to work out a lot myself. However, if I asked a question, he could go for 3 hours giving me the answers to it. But he never, I guess the word is, led me into anything. He didn't say, did this happen to you? Where did you go? I would have to come forth with the information from him. And then he will give me the information.
I'm still trying to get over the fact that OBEs, you can actually control where you want to go. If you get into an argument with somebody and you go to sleep that night and the argument shows up in an out-of-body experience, is that because of it happened before you had the OBE? Or is it a message to the problem? How much control do you have on these
Well, you see, that's actually a continuation from the last show, which is on dreams. Now, dreaming is different. we can have a dream and we can interpret the dream. Out of body, I'm going to say it's a random, for me it was very random, although I was going. But I could actually, if there was something that I wanted to figure out, now that I know, because I didn't know any of that this time, yes, it is absolutely possible. You can have a conversation, because there's an astral plane, which we were talking about last week. You can go onto that plane and talk to the person that maybe you had an argument with, or whatever the situation is. They may not be aware of it, but they are talking to you.
So it's not a dream.
It's not a dream. No, you're out of your body.
I think that's important for the listeners to understand that this is there's a big difference between an OBE and the nightmare and the dream, because
but if you're not aware of it and you've had an OBE or let's call it astral projection, because people relate an out of body mainly to when you leave your body in an accident of some kind. But when I listen to this lady, they are basically one of the same. You don't pass. You never have. You're not going to, unless it's your time to go. People would say, well, I'm scared if that happens to you. Nothing, and I've heard now a few people say that can happen to you, unless, of course, it is your time to go. So it's a dream. It's a dream within a dream. That would be. But
when I thought it was a dream about the studio. Was that a dream or OBE?
That's a perfect analogy. I think that was an OBE, out-of-body experience.
But how do I know the difference?
Well, only you can interpret that, okay? So when I say that, if you had felt any, did you have any, because you don't always remember the sensations too. I'm sure I've had many.
Sally, I remember this thing like if I was sitting here right now.
When you went, yes, that's why it was definitely, it was an out of body.
And the colors were so vivid. The curtains, the red curtains were red, and you guys were sitting down there.
That's exactly what I say. The colors are very vivid. You see colors you've not even ever seen on this planet. I saw, when I came back from the first one, that was actually one of the first things that caught my eye, because I used to show properties and I would do the same walk every day. When I took my tour at that particular time, the next day, I remember saying to myself, I don't remember seeing that color. It was still there in my mind. I was seeing flowers that I'd never seen, and I used to do that walk every single day. I was showing a property.
I'm going to tell you the freakiest thing about all of this. I've never been up that high in this studio. Yet I can tell you what it looks like. I can tell you what it smells like. I can tell you the lights that were on, the reflection of it. I could tell you that I was crouched up there and I could see my knees. I mean, it was like if I was there, which is kind of scary. I've had a lot of experiences, so, and you actually, we all have sitting here, and Steve's definitely getting there, but you were, as best that I can tell you, you definitely were here in an out of body. You saw things. You've mentioned a few things. You mentioned the colors. That was something that really stood out in my mind when I saw that, because I knew nothing about this, and I'm thinking, how is this possible? I can tell you, I'm a walking example of not knowing anything, and everything happened to me and continued. And I still may get them, but I may not always be remembering them, because I don't think they stop. I think many people don't even know. So I'm here to tell people, I think the knowing that you might have had one is sometimes you get that vibrational energy and you get the feel of looking down. You get the feel of looking down. It was a strange feeling, and it's funny because I don't remember if there was a message, but I know that I had to get this rug back. I had to get that rug back, and I asked Dawn the next day, where are the rugs? Remember? And that happened because of that. There are some other things that I have to do. I got to do something in Studio B that I haven't done yet.
It's important. I don't know
what it is. But is that the message? Is me doing what I have to do?
100% that particular one is because you landed here in the studio. You were here. This is like your second home, right? So this is things that you are being told, I'm going to say on the astral plane, to do. Because realistically,
but told by who, Sally?
By your spirit, your guide. You're talking to your guides. You just heard a lot from the last show. This is not imaginary. This is true. It's true.
It's funny because in the last show, Tommaso was saying, boy, did you guys plan this? Because he says this was a wonderful segue with you and him, all three of you together at one time.
No
I don't think we've ever
all
had that.
Polar opposites. It's like a triangle.
Yes, absolutely. I saw that as you were saying that.
Of spirit.
And we've
We
never had
actually
that.
should do a show, the
No.
three of us together, right?
It's kind of freaky that it happened on a Monday, that it happened today. I did not know that he was coming. I knew you were coming because we had dinner on Saturday.
And I didn't know he was coming.
And you didn't know he was coming.
Right.
So, and I told you this morning, but the outcome of this thing was tremendous. And again, is it part of that out of body? I don't know. I don't even wanna
my
say it
belief, and I
anymore.
can only say my belief, and I hope I talk by example of things that have truly, truly happened to me, is that we do plan our lives. And when these things happen, or a deja vu, and you kind of know what's going to be said, we know on the flip side of that, we can change it because we have free will. But the majority of our life, well, actually all our life is planned. We don't always stick to it. But if it's important or it's something that you may be learning from, then you're going to see, or I know what I saw, I know what happened to me, I know I was told to go and get some crayons. I couldn't paint, but my proof is I came back a completely different person. And I didn't even listen to that message. I knew it, but I didn't take note of it and start scribbling. That happened a little later on. Then I remembered they told me to do that. So I'm drawing things, scribbling, that look like something. So we all have this, whether we choose to remember it. I mean, there's a lot of things involved when you do this. It's messages maybe for ourselves to go ahead and do something, just like dreams. Some dreams are our imagination, some aren't. I believe that you were up there and you were being told, or you were telling yourself, however way you want to interpret that, but it was real. It was real.
And then we met the OG to the studio that was here as a teacher for the people that were here before. I also have to do something with the rafters. Now, this is funny about the rafters. Things that hang down, messages. Now, it could be that it's raining messages, or the rafters. They have like the foundation. There's a rafter, a flag or a banner that has to be put up on top. There's one for amp. There are rafter pieces.
Was this in your?
Yeah.
I
I looked up and I saw.
Okay.
I saw things hanging down from the ceiling,
Then
like
you
a
need,
rafter.
my advice is to go by what you
Yeah,
saw.
but I can't tell people that. We're gonna think
No,
I'm
you don't have to
crazy.
tell anyone. Just go ahead and do it, and then
Go
it'll
ahead
make
and do it.
sense.
Yeah, look at her face.
No,
ahead
what
and
he
do it.
saw is what
How am I
you've
gonna
seen in
hang
your
things from the
future.
lights?
You've seen in your future.
You got not from the lights, from the beams. I'm going to give you another one, Sally. Since we've been here, we're entering our 6th year. I was told about a stage, and she knows this one about up here, about having a stage. Now, it could be because there was a stage in this place once before, and we came to part 2, the second stage that we built. I don't know, but I could tell you things about being up there, all the things that we don't have that we need to have. I need to put lights up there. I need to do things over here.
Well,
It's
I
everywhere.
saw in your studio, I think somewhere about a year or two ago, that I knew there was something to do with the ceiling. I don't know if you remember that. And I could see that the wall here had been knocked down.
Yes, that wall was never there. It was all open. This was
So
all
maybe
open
I
as a
saw it
theater.
before. This could be an after of something that's happening. It'd be interesting to see what actually does materialize here.
But you never question why. Sally, you travel, messages you see, why you had Aldo.
Well, I think it was my choice. I just didn't remember that this was going to happen to. It was my time to start remembering what we all know. So it was my time, as they call it now, waking up to the situation of what's really going on. So I was not that I was ever against this. I always had an open mind. But a lot of what people used to tell me, I probably would have said, what are they talking about? But I did believe that there was something else. I didn't know what. So when all this started to happen to me, and Aldo comes to my life the next day, tells me my dream, and I'm drawing, I had to quickly wake up. Otherwise, I probably would have admitted myself to a hospital thinking I was going nuts. And it was my choice. You're not alone. For the viewers out there, if these things have happened, investigate it more, read, call the studio. I'm here to answer questions on that too, but that's just one person. Hopefully there'll be a lot of people calling in.
So is it common to have an OBE that's related to your waking moments, your daily life?
Oh yes, because it's a message we're giving ourselves. Well, we're seeing, if you want, a glimpse of the future. So that glimpse of the future is, it could be positive or negative. So if it's some type of warning of some kind and you see it, then heed a warning. That begins to be like a premonition.
Isn't it strange that if you're looking for the answer to your why, that you're going to spend more time looking for an answer than to actually doing what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, that's what happens. And then we get caught up with so much that we even begin to forget what we're even looking for. So it's important to open your mind to this. Just open your mind and let it flow. And I guess there's something here that I'm feeling that you would like to tell me.
Sometimes looking for your why ends up wasting time on things that you should just be doing.
Well, I believe I guess I'm an impulsive person. I don't necessarily recommend that. And as I've gotten older, I've slightly quietened down on my impulses. But if you feel that you should do something and it feels very strong within you and you're undecided, that might be the time to have the outer body. I mean, there are ways that you can control this. I don't know. I've never done it. I just went and I kept going. But there are ways, and maybe if you want an answer to a question, learn this because it's open to everybody, and see if you can have one and control it and control the situation. Aldo did tell me, but of course I didn't know when it was going to happen, and it happened 3 times a week sometimes to me. Before you go to sleep, say what you want to know, ask the questions, and then you'll get I can't guarantee you're going to get the answers, but they are there.
How many times did you ask Aldo why?
I accepted it. I knew
but
because
that's the point.
I accepted it because I knew that now I was researching. Now I had him to ask these questions for. It opened my mind. I knew that had happened right away.
But that's the answer, Sally, is that you did.
Yeah,
and you've become more advanced in what you do.
I think when you start having these experiences, people change. I mean, you heard that on the show. It's not just 1 or 2 people. When you truly have had something like this, I'm not going to say it's easy to see the world differently, but you see it differently. And my life today is, well, I don't necessarily have to research everything, but I like listening now to programs. I like to be able to give messages. I like to understand. I wasn't always like that, but I just can't get enough of understanding more. And I'm not alone. Anyone that's had this follows things that they thought they might want to. I never knew I could paint. I can paint because I listened to that, and it was something I was meant to do to open my mind up.
But look at everything the painting has brought you. Look at all the different things, the different aspects. I mean, you're in the clothing business now. Look at everything. And I bet you that if you thought less about it and did more of it, you'll be different, maybe movies or novels, who knows?
Well, it's all a lot goes back also, which I'm learning too, it's our belief system. If I said to myself, well, that didn't mean anything and I'm not going to do this anymore, even coming here. I mean, I was presented this place before I came. We have to follow up with it. It's our passion. It's something within ourselves. I could have had that, although it doesn't usually happen when someone's had that vivid things happen to you like that. I didn't have to pursue this. I have no choice. It's something I have to do. I love being around people that can relate to this. My conversations with people, everything that I like are totally different to how I was. Totally different. And anyone that's had this sensation, I mean, even if they're not sure, if you suddenly get interests in things or you see things happening, I'm sure you've had them, you're just not remembering. It's not the only thing that will wake you up, but it's certainly a big part of what happens to you.
So I've asked you about an exciting one. I've asked you about a frightening one. Have you ever had a real humorous one?
Yeah, in a way. One time, well, I had one of a learning experience, but it ended up humorous because I saw my guide, which is also in my book. I'm missing something here, I feel. But anyway, I was going somewhere. That part is not important. And I see my guide who introduced himself to me. I didn't know there was such a thing as guides. I certainly didn't know there was such a thing as an apprentice on the other side that was helping the guide. And I was talking to him, and he explained that he was my guide. But he turned around to me and he said, "But I don't usually take women." I'm going, what the heck? What is he talking about? This ended up humorous. And then this lady shows up, and she said to me, she said she's his apprentice. Now, I knew nothing about this in this lifetime, that she was helping him and she was going to take over from him because he doesn't usually have women. And I'm thinking, what the heck is going on? And she's saying, my life is very similar to yours when I was in this lifetime. And I came out of there thinking to myself, what in the world was that all about? I proceeded to tell Aldo, and he looks at me, he says, boy, is he male chauvinist. So I said, what is he talking about? Guides or apprentice, is this such a thing? I had him to be. He said, absolutely, and she is. And he says, well, do whatever he's saying, but I don't like that attitude that he doesn't take women on. So that remained funny. That was funny. So I told him not to tell him off. I said, Aldo, don't tell him off. He says, if I want to tell him off, I'm going to tell him off.
That's the same thing as why, by the way.
That's funny.
All right, we had to take a commercial break, Sally.
Okay.
Tell them.
Oh, I'm sorry, because okay, we will be back in a few minutes. I'll see you on the other side of this program. Don't go anywhere.
A true story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Bernard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came into the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and a grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest into art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed a paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she is able to astral a project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life and direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today, authorhouse.com and amazon.com.
Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Bernard, and you can find my book at authorhouse and amazon.com or visit my art on my clothing in my boutique at artbysallybernard.com. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to my show. I'm eager to hear some of the questions, Freddie.
Well, Sally, the only thing is, remember, there's going to be a lot of instances here where people are telling you what they went through via, like me, and then they're going to ask you to interpret it.
Okay, I'll do the best I can.
So there's one here that says, I think this one is the lady from California. I think her name was Beverly. Floating above the city, I had an OBE where I floated above the city, seeing the skyscrapers and streets below. Sounds like something that happened when I lived in New York. What does that experience mean?
Well, I believe she was actually there experiencing that because I had something very detailed, which I think I mentioned on the last show, and I found myself, I'm from London, and I found myself back in London, right in the center of London, and I could see I was flying, I could see everything, eventually ended up on the streets in London, but I was totally lost. I didn't know where I was, but I knew I was in London, but I didn't recognize any of the streets. Well, I did go back to London, and not that many years ago, and I found myself exactly in the same spot that where I had seen in my astral projection, and I was lost. I had no idea where I was. So that could be without talking to the lady. It could be something that's going to happen where you're going to be, or you are out of your body just having fun. I felt like I needed to say that.
But she's lost the way you felt?
Was she lost? Did she say she was lost?
No, I'm asking you.
Well,
she mentioned skyscrapers and streets, so that's looking...
I don't know if she's from New York or if she's been to
idea.
New York. It's kind of the only way that I'm going to interpret it is that seems like a real out-of-body experience, and she was actually seeing New York.
It's funny because you can tell that this wasn't a dream. It wasn't a nightmare. It was something bigger.
When you remember it so vividly, yes, that's also very important because we do have dreams, but usually when we wake up, we've forgotten the whole dream. Maybe for the few seconds that we're awake, we will remember it. I did write down a lot of these things that happened to me because I was told to do that. However, you could open any page that I've written what happened. I can tell you 20 years later exactly with the same experience. I will be able to tell you. So.
So is that the case if we have a dream and we kind of forget it sort of almost immediately after we wake up, it's just a dream, but if we tend to remember it vividly, could that have been an out-of-body experience?
I mean, I can't tell you for sure because every experience is differently, but the chances are it probably was, yes. Yeah.
So some of us have an out-of-body experience and not
Without
even know
knowing.
that it happened.
Absolutely. I think it happens to many more people than that we know about. Many people have out-of-body. I was ready to understand it, I guess, because as I've been told, there is an astral plane that we all go to, actually, but we don't remember. I mean, you think of it. We're here walking around and suddenly we're not. We're asleep. And that's for many hours, nearly as much time as when we walk around. Nobody really, unless they get interested in it, really questions that. I mentioned that to you the other day. We spend a lot of time sleeping.
Isn't that a phenomenon, just sleeping?
Exactly.
Maybe
And
there's a whole nother life when we sleep.
Maybe.
100%. For me, it's 100%.
And the sleeping life says, oh, now I got to wake up and go back to that waking life. And everyone else like, oh, now I got to go back to that sleeping life.
Well, actually, sleeping is a gift if you think about it, because I mean, we're suddenly awake and then we're not, right? So I think we sort out a lot of problems at that point when we're out of here, because it's not easy here and we talk it over. We just don't remember unless you're lucky enough to be able to do this and it's positive and we remember what we discussed. I think that's one of the reasons too. I don't have all the answers. It's just what I feel.
Well, a good night's sleep is 8 to 10 hours, which is roughly half a day.
Yeah, it is. I mean, even if it's even 5 or 6, the mere fact you go to sleep, you know?
Yeah, well, 5 or 6, you're going to wake up like a zombie, but yes.
Well, I don't sleep a whole lot more than that now. I used to, yeah. That's why I mentioned that number. Well, maybe 6.
Well, you go to bed early.
I go to bed early.
Well, if you go to bed early, you're going to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
No, well, I do. I wake up periodically, but we all have different sleeping habits. I think we sleep as much as we're really meant to, but there are situations, obviously, when we're not sleeping that much and we should, and vice versa, we sleep too much. But
sleeping is a phenomenon.
It is.
I never realized that.
It definitely is. I realized that the other day when I was listening to this lady, actually. Yes, it is. Just being here is strange, if you think. The fact, in my belief system, and many people were like I was before and are like I am today. How in the world did we get here? Why aren't people more, just as a conversation, why are we not more interested? Why do people say, I can't be bothered with that nonsense? They do, when you start
It sounds to me like they're afraid of the truth.
Well, everybody has a different reason, right? But why? You'd think that once you begin to open up to it, I can't get enough of this, of anything.
But you're aware of it.
Well, yes, but there are many people that are.
There are many people who aren't.
Well, that's
they
the part I'm trying
deny.
to see. Maybe we can open up more minds, not be scared of what we would call the unknown, because it's much easier to go through life knowing there's something more than going through your life petrified and not wanting to find out what's going on.
True. People are petrified is a good word for it.
Yeah.
And not to get into the Scopes trial here, but there are those that just accept the fact that we exist because of procreation, and there are others.
So how did that all come about? When you begin to get into it, you start to question some of the stories you've heard. If you're happy, I'm not blaming anyone for being happy and accepting what they have. I just want to tell people, and only people that have curiosity at this point in my life, that there is more. Maybe we can work through this and understand a little bit more, because there are many people that are going to question it, and there are as many people that don't want to know. They will eventually, in my belief system, begin to wake up, as they call it, in other lifetimes. Just isn't their time. Doesn't matter.
The funny thing is that more people will spend more time not wanting to know. Like, you should want to know more.
Yeah.
And you should take that step to learn more.
100%.
But they won't do that because
won't do it.
it's easier to walk in blindness.
And they will criticize.
Scared to know.
Exactly.
Yes, and through that fear, and that's what I do believe it is, when people start criticizing what you do, because they're scared. Because how can you honestly be really scared and not want to know unless you're terrified of the situation? Why? If I said, I think maybe I have some answers where we go, or spirits talk to us, today more and more people are accepting of that.
Not
They
only,
just turn their back on you and think you're crazy.
not only scared, but scared of being branded as a heretic or something.
Yeah, but today we've made that a lot easier for people because the world, to get onto another subject slightly, is we're going through a shift in this world. And I mentioned that to the gentleman here who studies the paranormal, that more and more people are becoming accepting of this than years ago. I mean, years ago they used to burn you at the stake, right? I keep looking over there, Dawn. You're nice to look at. So
You know, it's funny because a lot of people, when you tell them that they have a guide and you can see it, 9 out of 10 responses now I want to know more. Why is it that they have to listen to somebody else say it and they can't listen?
Because
to
if
their
I
own?
was actually, that's what really happened to me. I would listen. I always believed that there was more, and I was psychic, but I didn't understand how I knew. But I never really took the time to find out until I met Aldo, and only met him, and he knew me a year. The most amazing part of my story is that Aldo worked in the same building as me for 1 year. He knew who I was, but never came up to me at work until I'd had this out-of-body experience.
The most
That's quite
amazing thing
something.
of your story is that you listened.
I couldn't not. Having had that, and he knew that. I changed. I mean, I write in my book, I was not the same person as I had been. So my curiosity opened up very much. Why? How did this happen? How am I speaking to spirits? I know I'm proof for myself because I know what happened. And I'm questioning. I want to know more. Obviously, I want to know more. But and that's all right. It was my time.
Speaking of your book, how can one purchase your book?
Through Amazon.com or Author House, my publisher. Call Me Zena by Sally Bernard.
Or scan the QR code on the
Or
screen.
scan the QR code. And my artwork, which I'm selling also, it's some of my artwork is, well, not my art, the paintings that is now on clothing.
That's like the dove that was just here.
Oh boy, the dove. The next question is my tenant in Puerto Rico wrote in. I asked her. Her name is Julia, and she said to me in Spanish, during my OBE, I met my deceased grandmother who smiled and hugged me. I don't know how that was accomplished, but okay. What message might she be trying to convey?
Well, if it was an out-of-body, which I believe, or a projection, you met on the astral plane. Unfortunately, she's not remembering the details of the conversation. If you do write it down or it comes to you, if not, if it's happened once, it can probably happen again. So when you go to sleep, this is the best way to find this out, that you want to continue with the situation and what she had said to you, the messages. Say to yourself, I want to go back there. I want to talk to her again. That's a beautiful experience that you remember the hug.
The grandmother raised her, I could tell you that. And she has not had, easy life since her grandmother passed on. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Well, no, but maybe when you're on the other side, it's not that suddenly you become all-knowing, because you leave off from where you are here. You are the same, from what I know and I understand, is that we're basically the same, with the same personality. But there might have been some unfinished business there that her grandmother needed to tell her. So try to get back into that situation. Just say to yourself, I want to talk to her. She's listening.
But do you think that she can create that whole thing again? 'Cause
I don't know. It's up to the individual and anybody that's had this. I mean, I would like to go more frequently than I am right now again. I don't know how to bring it on other than I had what they call spontaneous. I did it for a year. I was going 3 times a week. And then when I had that fear, and I saw it was a spacecraft and I wouldn't get on it, it kind of stopped for quite a long time. Now, I know I still go. You saw me paralyzed. And there are situations that I know there. I don't have the vivid memory, though. It's faded from me a little bit. But the information that I'm getting from people or around me or what I'm attracting is staying with me completely. I'm learning more every single day.
With this young lady who met her grandmother, it could be something as simple as since her life was not going very well, she needed some comfort, and the grandmother was there to give her
Thank you for bringing that back. Actually, that's when I got caught up with something else. Yes, a grandmother is trying to have that conversation. She wants some comfort, and I truly feel, I mean, I'm just talking, because getting vibrations off the energy of that particular question. I can't tell you who I'm talking to because I really don't know, but the thing is her grandmother wants to comfort her, so continue talking to your grandmother.
Isn't one of the biggest things, especially among women, is to feel safe?
Yes, it is. It's for everybody, actually. We all should feel safe. Unfortunately, the world isn't that way, especially right now.
And grandmothers and grandfathers are normally safe
The ones
zones.
that can give you that. So I'm not saying she didn't talk to her grandmother. I feel from what she said, she felt the hug that she does. However, that's also in our subconscious too, because if a loved one has passed, your mind plays tricks, and I'm not by all means saying that this was one of those incidences, but your mind will play tricks if you truly want to see someone. I believe if you truly want to, it will happen. However, it may not, but you still might feel that you did, and that's the most important, really.
Interesting. So we go to sleep looking for an OBE?
Yeah, that's what Aldo
We
told
do?
me.
You do that?
He's trying, and actually through my book, I had one of my closest friends was Dawn, who was in my book, and we used to work together. So I used to recall to her everything that had happened the night before, or things that were happening to me, and she'd come to work because we worked together. Sally, I felt someone tugging at my blankets. I mean, she tried so hard, but I wasn't able still to be able to.
Can you imagine having a whole nother life when you sleep? Like maybe that's your real life, and this is your dream.
It is.
Maybe that's real.
Well, I don't mean to throw a monkey wrench into this, but the gentleman that was sitting here, he feels things even when he's awake and walking.
Well, can I just in answer to Dawn's question? That's exactly what I believe. I believe that 3/4, or it doesn't matter the percentage, but it's high, is somewhere else. This is we're having the experience here. And that's why I like the imagination part of it. But this is another show. We must do this show. But in my belief, and I don't expect everybody, but people that have learned a lot more, than maybe an average person that hasn't had an open mind, will begin to see this as it's not 100% real. It's of our making. And that's why if you manifest, will help. Because all that we see is not all that we see. Does that make sense? That just came to me. So I believe that we're somewhere, part of us is somewhere else.
Do your guides guide you when you sit here? Do they give you the answers?
They did. I'm not even sure what I just said, but whatever I just said was not
was from them.
me. Yes, was not from me. Absolutely they do. And they will continue, but I can't walk around all the time the way, that I am here. So I bring myself back, and it's just, to me, and I can only talk from me, and hopefully by my examples that I can pass this message on, it's been an amazing, amazing experience. Something I knew nothing about. I knew that there was more. I didn't know anything about what happened to me, so I didn't say I'm imagining it, because I wouldn't have known what to imagine. Although a lot of what happens to us is from our imagination, but I didn't even understand that. Today I do. We imagine things because, after all, how do we make things happen? It starts with a thought. And that thought, we can materialize that. It's your passion. It's something within you from your imagination that puts you forward to do something else and keep that going.
To take your question a little further, Sally, on her show, it's never Sally speaking. She draws from a collective. And it's the same thing when she'll do a reading for somebody. It's not Sally doing the reading, but it's her collective that gives her the messages.
And they're very specific, because even me, and I do this, I didn't understand how I was able to do this. I didn't even know that I definitely could. But in the very beginning, and you're aware of that too, I can give names, because for me, I need validation. So if I'm talking to someone, I'll give them a name of somebody that they may be wanting to talk about, but I don't know because they've said nothing to me, and that's happened several times. And that puts us both at ease, actually. The fact that I could get a name or part of what they might be wanting to talk about. That's not me. How in the world, if someone sits in front of me, am I going to know who they want to contact? So that's coming from, well, it is, I shouldn't say it's not me, because we have a higher self. That's another show. Well, maybe we'll do that next week.
But that is you.
That's coming from a different part of me. if I'm just sitting here talking about the weather, I do blurt out names sometimes because it may be important for you to have that message. But I don't go around doing this all the time, and it's important that I don't do it all the time.
But if you blurt out a message, it's because you were given that message out of the blue from...
It's important for that person, not necessarily for me, but maybe they want to know things. And I have done that here. I'll suddenly get a name in my mind, and I text you sometimes, Dawn, and you know that. I don't have to know what it's all about. It doesn't matter. It's not for me, but it's for the person that I'm texting the message to or
and
calling.
The name is given to you from a different
Exactly.
It's like the gentleman that was here today. There are gizmos that they use now to hear energies, and these energies that are spoken are words. Like he says, he could give you instances where he heard the word.
But do you think maybe they're best left alone?
No, because I think that they want to be heard.
I think if you hear it, I think it's something maybe that.
But if you hear, but if you're actually seeking it,
Well, you know what? Let's turn this upside down. So you go to sleep at night, right? And that's a different world, allegedly, right? We just talked about
right?
that. And then you wake up. You're still in that world, but because you have your mind on so many other things, you're just not hearing what you hear at night. So the night is the norm, the day is the abnormal. That's the difference. And how many people are you going to be able to say that to that aren't going to call the funny farm on you?
Sure.
I believe completely what you said, and more people are beginning to see that that makes sense, Freddie. That's the good part, because we are going through a shift here. The world can't go on the way that it is, and more people are becoming aware of this. And more people are seeing it's happening to them.
And at nighttime, everything shuts down. The business shuts down.
Right.
Things slow down. You go to dinner, you go home, everything is turned off. All of a sudden, what seemed to be nighttime is regular time. And all of a sudden, daytime is all this noise that you're creating, so you can't hear
Your
the
mind
right
is
time.
active all the
Absolutely.
time. Right?
Oh, we got 4 minutes left.
So, how about another OBE?
I'm going to tell you something. Now I get the hairs in the back of my
Boy.
neck standing. Now this is a
Created a
gentleman.
monster.
This is the gentleman. His name is Richard. Now he's from Pennsylvania, which is a strange town to begin with. I had an OBE where I traveled through a dark tunnel, feeling a sense of acceleration and excitement. What does that mean? And the only reason that I say Pennsylvania has a lot of mine tunnels, and so this guy was a miner.
Oh, because that might change the aspect of
There
it a
you
little
go.
bit. Yeah.
Now you're getting it. And I'm going to save this because I want to
Okay,
sort
we'll
of
do
finish
both,
this
yeah.
off. But he wants to know what that feeling, a sense of acceleration and excitement, what does that signify? What do you think it means?
Well, it means, from what I can feel, I think the fact, if you had not said that's what his profession was or what he does for a living, I might have given it a different slant. But however, I think what you're doing, he's doing, by what he's doing good with what he's doing. I'm sure it's however he's feeling about it. The acceleration is that he's helping. I'm not sure what he's mining or whatever it is, but from my point of view, he's there. He's experiencing more under an undertone of what he's actually feeling while he's doing it, and it came more to the surface. That's what I'm feeling.
I have a tendency to agree with that.
That's what I feel. Of course, I'm not getting his vibrational energy and I can't feel it, but the way that I'm feeling that I should interpret a question like that is on that particular one. I think that's what it is. Now, however, and it doesn't necessarily refer to him because he had it from a different point of view, but if you're going through a tunnel, that would have been a whole different thing.
Right. I got to tell you, I was going to tell Steve that when we go, I think we should go to dinner at least once a week, and I think I'm going to bring the poll questions with me. And I'm going to ask the waiters, the waitresses, people in the restaurant to answer the question right in front of you. I'm kind of eager to see how it's perceived.
And I'm very open to do that. You know, when you go on the road.
But we'll go to a quieter place.
We'll go somewhere that's not as cold.
But I don't mind doing that. If people have a question, especially when you are on the air somewhere and there's more people in there, I have no problem doing that because they'll come to me wherever I
We're going
am.
to take your show on the road and see what others
Okay.
think. And we're going to see the reaction
Yeah, that's good.
to being asked these things.
Because
And-
it's not that I have to be face to face, but even a phone call, I'm getting some of that.
No,
vibration.
I want to do some face-to-face.
Hope everyone has a great Labor Day weekend coming up.
Have a happy birthday, Steve.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
birthday.
Were you 21 again?
21.
Enjoy New York. It's going to be
Plus,
wonderful.
So we're looking forward to it. I will be back next Monday, though.
Next Monday's Labor Day, so we're going
we won't
to.
be back next. I'll be back Monday
you're
week.
going to get
It's
a-
Labor Day. Yeah.
You're going to
Bring
get a
her back during
recap.
the week.
Absolutely.
And we'll do something on the road with her to ask the question.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
you
no,
can
I
get
know.
your
I
clothing.
know.
We can get your clothing at Art by Sally Bernard.
Right. Okay.
If Sally's clothing, now that you've heard some of her story, is now being created, so you have wearable art, and you can check that out at Art by Sally Bernard, BARNARD.com. Beautiful, beautiful clothing. The art is in her book. The art is here in the studio, and now you can wear it when you work out, go to the beach, wherever you go. Dresses, pants, bathing suits, flip-flops, tote bags, all of it. It's beautiful.
Wear the frequency, because Sally's art is all about frequency and energy. Wear the frequency, and if you don't know what it means, get a piece, wear it, and you'll find out.
And it's very strange, just so viewers know that I'm not talking about it. I can answer any question, but when I have to talk, I can talk about the experiences that have happened to me, but when I actually have to kind of tell people more about it, I'm not where I am. So it's easier for someone else to explain it.
So,
On
check
that
it out.
note, we'll
Yeah.
say good.
Take
See
a
you
bye.
next week. Bye-bye.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Bernard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybernard.com. Join us next week, Mondays at 2:30. Have a blessed day.